Pray to God, may the thoughts of my heart and the words of my mouth be an expression of your love to these, your people. Imagine yourself as a young person. You've been committed to serving God, perhaps by your mother or father, and are mentored by an older person who seems to have lost touch with God. So, how would you respond to a voice that called your name in the middle of the night? It's probably your mentor, right? So you run over to his quarters and ask, what can I do? What would you like me to do? He doesn't seem to understand. And of course, he sends you back to your room and says, go back to sleep, don't bother me. And yet, the voice returns again. And you go to your mentor again, and it tells you to return to your room again. And the voice comes a third time. Persistent, you go back a third time. This time, the mentor replies, oh, maybe this is the voice of God. Here's what you should do if it comes back. Or, you might be an adult, caught up in the busyness of a new career. When a friend calls you to say that they have found the promised one, the Lord that they've been seeking. How do we react to such a witness? Most of us would be skeptical and looking for a reason to set our friend's witness aside and get on with our lives. Would we be willing to go and see the one that our friend believes to be the promised one? There always seem to be times in our lives when God seems far away, when it's easier to believe that the Word of God has not been heard, either now or in the past. And we really don't expect God to intervene on our busy lives. We often respond to the witness of others, even people we know and trust, with skepticism. Nothing good can come out of them or anyone from that area. Now that may have been how Samuel felt in our Old Testament reading. He is the son of Hannah and Elkanah. Hannah was barren until an old age, and she prayed to the Lord at the temple in Shiloh for a child. And Samuel is the answer to her prayer. That's chapter 1, verse 20. And she dedicates him to the Lord, leaving the child with Eli, who is the priest at Shiloh. Now Eli is old. He's grown tired in his service as a priest, and his sons have gone against the Lord, causing him and his household to fall in disfavor with God. While he's sleeping, the boy hears a voice calling his name. Thinking it's the old priest, of course he gets up and goes to Eli to find out what he wants. The old priest, awakened from his slumber, doesn't know what Samuel's talking about and sends him back. Don't bother me. The voice returns, and Samuel returns, only to be rejected again. And on the third time, Eli recognizes that something different is up. And he tells the boy that it may be the voice of God calling him. So he gives Samuel words to respond with. Sure enough, the voice calls again. And Samuel says, "Speak, for your servant is listening." The light which has not shone in the temple has suddenly spread to Samuel, who will grow in the light and become a voice for the Lord. Now, Nathanael's story is not unlike Samuel's. Nathanael is a young guy, perhaps just beginning to find his way in life. He was from Bethsaida, another town in Galilee, and his response to Philip's witness about Jesus of Nazareth was to say, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Nathanael appears only here in the Gospel of John. Some scholars believe that the Bartholomew mentioned in the other three Gospels is John's Nathanael. William Barclay even argues that Bartholomew is a last name, translated as son of Tholomew. So his name might have been Nathanael Bartholomew. Others argue that Nathanael wasn't even a real person, but rather a representative of a human trait of pride, prejudice, and the need to listen for a call. It's hard to tell, really, who he is or why the gospel writer includes him in this story. But it's obvious that there is something significant going on here. Can anything good come out of Nazareth? We don't know why he said it. Maybe he just wanted to be left alone, didn't want to be bothered by Philip and Philip's new friend. Maybe he really thought anyone from a hick town like Nazareth wouldn't have anything of significance to say to him. Maybe he had given up on the search that Philip continued to work on. Maybe he hadn't decided, or maybe he had decided that he didn't need a Messiah after all, that he was doing all right on his own. But was he? Are we all doing all right on our own? Most of the time we think so. Most of the time we're content with the world as it is, with our lot in it. Most of the time we're grateful that things aren't any worse than they are in those moments. Nathanael recognizes Jesus after Jesus explains that he already knows Nathanael. When we let down our guard and our heart, we long to know and to be known. We want so much more of life than we settle for most of the time. We want our relationships to be deep and satisfying. We want those we love to trust in all that love. We want to live in the fullness of that love. We want someone to know us, all our weaknesses and our strengths, all our beauty and our ugliness, to know us and to love us even as we are. The word of the Lord was rare in those days, yet Samuel replies, "Speak, for your servant is listening." When the word of the Lord comes to him in the darkness, every now and then we ache to hear that word. We want the light of God's love to shine in our lives. Samuel's willingness to listen brings God into his life, and God promises to stay with him and to speak with him as long as Samuel will pay attention. As Samuel grew up, the Lord was with him and let none of his words fall to the ground. Verse 19. Can any good come out of Nazareth? Yes, it can. Out of Nazareth can come the one who knows and who loves even in unusual circumstances. Out of the darkness of night can come the voice that calls us by name. When we are willing to come and see, that's when the light of Jesus Christ's light will shine on us. Can anything good come out of us, out of the church, filled with hypocrites or sinners? When we proclaim, as Nathanael did, Rabbi, you are the Son of God, you are the King of Israel. We let the light of Jesus shine through us to the rest of the world. Out of Bordighmo can come a sense of family and community that remakes us. Out of our homes can come a trust and openness that gives others that sense of home that we all long for. From surprising people can come the light of Jesus, that unconditional love that builds us up and makes us whole. Let God's light shine through you to illuminate the darkness of the troubled world we live in. God promised Samuel he would be with him. And Jesus promised Samuel he would see great things if they would just stay within the light of God's love. And that's what we're called to do, to stay within the light of God's love and help spread to the rest of the world. Amen.